So in this video, I'm going to show you why investing in real estate might be a better route for you to take instead of dumping all of your money into a 401k that is going to take much longer to accumulate the kind of wealth you will need in order to retire comfortably and at a reasonable age. And at the end of this video, we are going to compare apples to apples, the exact amount I started investing in real estate with, what my net worth is now, and what it would have been if I had invested the same amount into, let's say, an index fund or even more risky, a specific stock. So over the last 10 years, I've invested every dollar that I could into real estate investments, and that simple choice took me from being a broke aircraft mechanic living paycheck to paycheck to being a millionaire in 5 years, and eventually a multi-millionaire as I sit here today. Now, the amazing thing about real estate is how quickly things can compound, especially in multifamily real estate, and that's what I'm going to be talking specifically about today. There are 4 basic pillars to real estate investing that, with enough effort on your part, can make you a multimillionaire quicker than you thought was possible, and even maybe quicker than putting your money in the stock market, a 401k or an index fund. And I'm going to use one of my properties as a simple example to show you just how easy it can be to become a millionaire, become financially free with real estate alone. Now, this was one of my first properties I purchased. It was a small 14-unit multifamily property. I purchased this building in 2015 for $420,000. And at that time, that was what it was worth based on the rents it brought in, which at the time were $7,100 a month, or every single year, $85,500. Now fast forward to today, and the rents have gone up some 60%. Now some of that is due to inflation, but it is in large part because when I purchased the property, it was under rent and the complex as a whole was in really bad shape and needing updated. And when you do that, when you find a property that is under rent and has a value add component to it, such as the units needing updated, whenever you get done and you finish the property, you can command more in rent. You can bring it up to market standards. So here we are in 2024, and the monthly rent is $12,475 a month, or $150,000 a year. Well, why is that important beyond me just getting more cash flow every month? How does that factor into becoming a millionaire through real estate? Well, because the property value, especially with multifamily, is going to be dependent on the income that it produces. And going back to our 4 pillars of real estate investing, this is a simple example of appreciation, specifically forced appreciation, which is the single best reason for investing in multifamily real estate, as opposed to, say, a single family house. When I purchased this property, it was in such bad shape with such low rents that it would only be valued at $425,000 to $450,000. And when you buy multifamily real estate or investment real estate in general, there's something called a capitalization rate, or cap rate for short, which in a nutshell is the return you can make on the investment as a whole. And you can find that percentage by dividing the yearly income after expenses into the purchase price as a whole. See, the more dilapidated the property is, the more labor intensive it will be, which means you can acquire a property at a higher cap rate. For one, it's constantly going to be needing repairs, and it's less of a passive investment, which means you can get a higher return. Conversely, when you improve a property and you increase the rents, you can command a lower cap rate, which means a higher value or a higher return on the property. This is why large apartment complexes have such low cap rates, because they're new, they're updated, and they require less on your part. So now, with all the capital improvements and the rent increases, we can take the market cap rate for a similar property in my area, and for me, that would be a conservative 8 cap, and that would make my property valued at $1,303,000. Also, if you're interested in this free deal analyzer here, I put it in the link down below. It's free, no strings attached. It's an easy 7-step deal analyzer. Plug in a couple numbers and you can find out if you've got a deal or not. Now that is a perfect example of forced appreciation. And it's the first reason real estate can make you a millionaire and allow you to retire much earlier than you would be able to simply just investing in a 401k. Of course, all of those improvements required money, right? Well, where did I get that money from? I used the cash flow from the property. The property was producing cash flow throughout the years, and I was taking that money and I was putting it back into the property. It's something my uncle used to call poor boying it. So in reality, you're not spending any of your own money to force the equity. Now, of course, nowadays banks offer renovation loans and such, but this is a good way to keep your mortgage low and still make improvements. You can do all of this over time. So now the next way real estate can make you a millionaire, and the second stop on our 4 pillars of real estate, is cash flow. My current cash flow on this property is $5,000 a month, just for this one property. And of course, as you can imagine, that hasn't always been that high. And so every year this number goes up. The market can determine this, as well as making capital improvements. Each of them can allow you to command more in rent. And for me, currently I'm actually a little bit under market. So that means this year I'm going to be bumping rents. So let's do a simple exercise to see why cash flow and appreciation are so powerful. Let's say this year I'm going to bump rents $50 a month. Well, there's 14 units here, so 14 times 50, that's $700 a month. And so every year on this one property alone, I can increase my rent, my paycheck, my income by $700 a month, which is $8,400 a year. Well, what happens to the value of my property every year if I do that? If I increase it an extra $8,400 a year? Well, that increases the value of my property $95,000. Remember, this is one multifamily property. So every year I'm making $8,400 more, and the value of my property is now $95,000 more than it was the year before. The third pillar of real estate is debt pay down. So remember, as a real estate investor, you always want to leverage. Using the bank's money is a good thing, and here's why. Plain and simple, someone else is paying down your debt. Yes, you make more return on your money with leverage, but simply put, someone else is paying it anyhow. So going back to this 14 unit, every year on this property, my tenants are paying down my debt, which is increasing my net worth. The less you owe on the property, the more you can get in proceeds or a cash out refinance when you sell, which means every year you become wealthier and wealthier with the help of someone else's money. On this property last year, the debt pay down was $16,000. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but that increases every single year as you start to pay more towards principal the further along you are in the loan. So think about that. Someone else is paying your mortgage and paying you cash flow every month just to hold that mortgage. Now, of course, there's a little more to it than that, but simplified, it sounds really good. So the next and last pillar of real estate is depreciation. Depreciation is what the government allows you to do in order to incentivize people like you and me to buy real estate and provide housing for people. There's always a shortage of housing, and this is one of the ways the government incentivizes. Real estate has a life expectancy, and the government allows you to write off a portion of the value of the property over a certain span of time to account for that wear and tear or life expectancy. So let's say I make $10,000 in rents one year, but I also have $10,000 in depreciation. Well, guess what? I don't pay taxes on that rent. Now, I'm definitely oversimplifying this. I'm not a CPA, but just for reference, I have not paid taxes since I worked a W-2 job, and that was over 7 years ago. Okay, so let's sum up all the benefits of real estate using my example. So all in all, I had $8,400 a year in increased income from rent increases, another $95,000 in value added to my property, added to my net worth because of the rent increases as well, and the tenants paid down $16,000 in debt, and I saved tens and thousands of dollars in taxes. Now imagine that on multiple properties. How long do you think it would take you to become a millionaire? Now I know it took me 5 years. The question is, how long is it going to take you? Now, at the beginning of this video, I said we would compare apples to apples. So when I started, my total investment across multiple properties, it was actually 2 multifamily properties, was $100,000 of my own hard-earned money. And today I have 62 units valued at over $6 million. If I were to sell those today at a conservative 8 cap, after the remaining balances on my loans are paid, I would cash out around $3 million. This number includes any depreciation, recapture, and taxes. But if I would have put that same amount of money into the stock market, let's say in a growth index, let's try the S&P Index Growth Fund. Look here, I would only have $390,000. But better yet, let's get crazy. Let's say I was crazy enough to take $100,000 of my life savings and dump it into Apple stock at the time. Look here, I would still only have $750,000. Now look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to invest in stocks or a 401k, and this definitely isn't financial advice, but what I am saying is it is not how you will retire early. That does not mean that you can't do both. Why not put a few $100s into a Roth IRA or an index fund every month and purchase a property or two every single year? I can speak from experience when I say it is possible to start with nothing. It just takes a lot of focus and a lot of effort for a very short period of time. I can tell you that I'm going to be 40 years old this year, and I don't have a single dollar invested into a 401k, nor any stocks, no money in the stock market, and I'm not worried one bit about retirement, because what I do have is enough real estate investments to not only carry me through retirement, but also start retirement 25 years earlier than most of my peers. Now look, I do realize real estate isn't for everyone. So if you want to work a W-2 job and invest in the stock market till retirement age, you can do that. But what real estate gives you is a chance to take back your time and live life on your own terms. So anyways, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps my channel out. And as always, till next time.